Hello and welcome to the beginning of my new YouTube series, UFOs and Extra-Terrestrials. Today we will be looking at close encounters of the first kind that defined the genre and sparked worldwide curiosity. Before we begin, it is important to recognise that the investigation and debate of close encounters with extraterrestrials and unidentified flying objects is not considered to be an academic subject. Ufology is categorised as a pseudoscience and nothing more. It is also important to realise that there are differences between ufology and the belief that extraterrestrial beings have and do visit Earth. Although these positions are not synonymous, they share certain key characteristics. Ufology considers the extraterrestrial explanation as just one answer among many possibilities, such as military experiments and conspiracies, that explain the presence of UFOs in our skies. On the other hand, those who believe that extraterrestrials visit Earth consider this to be the primary explanation for UFOs and alien encounters. As far as I am aware, this distinction is not always addressed in other YouTube videos, but is essential to keep in mind when considering this subject. However, this does not mean that the theories and cases within ufology are not interesting, nor is it to say that every case is not credible. In fact, as this video will attest, among some of the more far-fetched theories on life outside planet Earth, there are some compelling examples that even the most staunch critic would struggle to explain. So without further ado, sit back, relax, and let us begin. After Edward J. Rupert coined the term UFO in the 1950s, the world has witnessed numerous accounts of close encounters with flying objects and little grey men, which have become a popular point of discussion in most people's lives, and we all have wondered at some stage whether we are truly alone in the universe. Close encounters with unidentified flying objects and even unknown creatures are divided into three separate categories and are interesting in that they are more unique and personal experiences than simply observing a flying disc in the sky or flashing lights at night, in that they can involve physical interactions with the unknown. In this episode of UFOs and Extraterrestrials, I will focus on the first classification for encounters with these unknown objects and entities, which are commonly referred to as close encounters of the first kind. A close encounter of the first kind is when somebody witnesses a UFO which is less than 500 meters away, and significant details of its shape and construction are visible to the witness. This first category is deemed a close encounter as it somewhat rules out misidentification by radar or by the human eye. Real-life cases of close encounters are everywhere, and people still report them on a regular basis, but arguably none are as impressive or groundbreaking as the cases I am about to discuss. This now brings us to our first encounter that helped define the genre, the Exeter incident. What makes this close encounter so interesting is that it has numerous witnesses, two of which were patrolmen for the Exeter, New Hampshire Police Department in the United States. It began early on a Sunday morning at around 1 AM on the 3rd of September 1965. Officer Eugene Bertrand was doing a routine patrol along Route 108. During his patrol, he came across a car which was parked by the side of the road in a derelict spot in the middle of the countryside. He pulled over to investigate the vehicle. Upon closer inspection, he noticed that a woman was in the car who appeared to be distressed. She told him that her car had been followed by a bright white light that hovered over the vehicle. The light then vanished as Bertrand pulled up. They waited a short while to see if the bright light would come back, but it didn't, so the driver went on her way and Bertrand continued on his patrol. Later on, at around 2:30 AM, Bertrand reported back to the Exeter police station, where he found a distraught Norman Muscarello who was shaking and could barely talk. After Bertrand and the desk sergeant, Reginald Towland, managed to calm Norman down, he then told them what had happened. He claimed that he had been hitchhiking on Route 150, but failed to get a ride, so decided to walk to Exeter. During his journey, he came across the Carl Dining Field farm, when all of a sudden, he was confronted by a group of 5 red lights that swooped down from the sky and hovered about 30 meters above him. He froze in fear, dumbfounded by what was happening, when out of nowhere, the lights came rushing towards him. Norman dived into a ditch to evade them. When he got up to see if the lights had gone, he spotted them passing over the tree line and appeared to be landing in a field further back. Officer Eugene Bertrand was concerned by Norman's experience, especially after his bizarre encounter with the distressed driver on Route 108, so decided to take Norman back to the scene of the UFO spotting to investigate. After a brief search, they found no signs of the red lights. Bertrand radioed HQ, which is when Desk Sergeant Reginald Towland suggested that Bertrand should check the field where Norman claimed the UFOs had landed. With nothing but a police-issued flashlight to guide them, the two men made their way toward the field behind the tree line. As soon as they entered the first field, which is no more than 50 meters from where they parked their car, they heard some cattle in a nearby field calling loudly as if they were being attacked. Then, All of a sudden, the red lights rose from behind the trees adjacent to the field. Bertrand drew his pistol and aimed at the lights, but despite Norman shouting, "Shoot it! Shoot it!" Bertrand did not fire and ran back to his patrol car. The lights approached the two retreating men, became so intense and dazzling that they were worried about getting burnt. Patrolman David Hunt responded to Bertrand's radio call at around 2:55 a.m. He could see the lights from half a mile away, and as he approached, they began to retreat. According to the three witnesses, they went high up into the sky and accelerated at an unnatural high speed in a southeasterly direction. This close encounter was met with huge criticism by the local press and the patrolman's colleagues, but Hunt and Bertrand refused to ignore what they had seen and together wrote an official report to Project Blue Book. Project Blue Book was an incentive by the Pentagon to investigate UFO sightings and close encounters. The Pentagon responded with an unclear statement claiming that what the people of Exeter had witnessed was nothing more than a B-47 military aircraft. However, the Pentagon did not know that Bertrand had spent some of his life in the United States Air Force and was well aware of what these military craft looked like and were capable of. Additionally, the supposed craft was in the air at around 1:30 a.m, which does not add up, as the UFO sighting continued till around 3:30 a.m. that very night. Outraged by the Pentagon's response, the two men sent another report to Project Blue Book, restating the facts. Eventually, the Pentagon reclassified the event as unidentified. Whilst this encounter is not proof of aliens or conspiracies, it is a compelling case that suggests there may very well be unexplained aircraft in our skies. It also stands out due to the number of credible witnesses and government acceptance of its mystery. Another example that helped define the genre is not one isolated case, but a wave of activity during the 1980s which has been referred to as the Hudson Valley UFOs. This was a collection of mass sightings over a 2-year period which was similar to the mass sightings that happened in Belgium not too long before. During this period, hundreds of witnesses reported close encounters with triangular, V-shaped UFOs. This event caused a trend for people to begin night watching and hunting for the elusive lights in the sky. In some cases, witnesses claimed that they would flash their car headlights at them and the UFOs would flash back. They appeared to be non-hostile and emitted a dull humming noise, with many speculating that they were some kind of reconnaissance vehicle. Police in Danbury, Connecticut, laughed at witnesses who first reported seeing these unidentified aircraft. It was only when 12 of the officers from the department also had close encounters with these mysterious objects that sightings became a serious concern. What makes the Hudson Valley UFOs interesting is that it was a phenomenon that was witnessed by hundreds of credible individuals, but, this time, the US government did nothing. This in turn greatly highlighted the divisions between those who believed and those who did not. On the one hand, the fact that the government chose to ignore these eyewitness testimonies, and in some cases actual photographic evidence, suggested to investigators that they had something to hide, sparking debate that these encounters were with classified military aircraft. This was strengthened by the fact that the government ignored the statements and experiences of government employees in the police. On the other hand, the Hudson Valley UFOs attracted many people to the region and boosted tourism in the area. Moreover, people were actively going out of their way to find these UFOs. So could it be a case of people seeing only what they wanted to see? After all, there is so much in the night sky that can easily be interpreted as unidentifiable. But, whatever the truth may be, this is an undeniably groundbreaking event, as it triggered large-scale interest and investigation into UFO activity. What do you think about these perspectives? Do you have a different interpretation? Let me know in the comments. The third and final case is arguably the most groundbreaking when it comes to defining the genre of close encounters of the first kind, as it is one of the first and few examples that included photographed evidence. In January 1958, a Brazilian survey ship called the Almirante Saldanha headed to the Pacific island of Trindade to dock at a Brazilian Navy oceanographic base. In the afternoon on the 16th of January, Almirante Brana was doing routine checks on his ship when he spotted an object in the sky. At first, the crew believed it to be a plane of some sort, but its curious shape made Brana take out his camera. The UFO reportedly circled the island, and Brana managed to get 4 photos of the UFO. Over 100 people at the oceanographic base witnessed the flying disc. Brana's photos proved to be one of the most compelling and credible pieces of evidence of a close encounter with an unidentified flying object, due to the impressive amount of witnesses and visual proof. To ensure there was no hoaxing, Brana was supervised by his captain and crew during the development of the photographs. The photos were analysed by experts, who deemed them to be legitimate, as they matched the descriptions provided by numerous witnesses and followed similar patterns of sightings that had been reported in that area. This case is famous, as still to this day, a legitimate explanation for this object has not been provided, meaning that the origin of this UFO is still unknown. What do you think of these cases? Are there any plausible explanations for their occurrence, or are they the result of something far more unbelievable? Thank you for watching, please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video installment of my UFO and Extra-Terrestrial series, where I will look at close encounters of the second kind that define the genre.